Iraji, it's my pleasure to welcome you to address the audience. Iraji is a new voice and is taking on the responsibility, not a small responsibility, of bringing Yog Vidya to a much, much wider audience in a very contemporary setting and manner. So Iraji, you have 10 minutes, please take the floor.
Thank you. So I was just thinking what I should speak about Shakti. Should I speak about Shakti through the lens of a writer? Should I speak about Shakti through the lens of yoga and explain Pran Shakti and how that travels through our body and why feminine energy is so important? But then after listening to this conversation, I thought I would reflect a little bit about what was spoken before me. And I completely agree with all the panelists who've gone before me that yes, once upon a time, India, especially in the Vedic age, it is said that women were equal to men. It was said that women and men walk shoulder to shoulder in terms of every aspect of life, be it work, be it marriage, be it ritualistically, in every sense. And what has happened since, there's a lot of different explanations. You know, it's history, so it's interpreted in so many different ways. But the truth of the matter is that let's look at the situation today in India, and let's look at the situation that is being created right here and right now. Not just the tradition, but also the culture. Because unfortunately or fortunately, the traditions that we're speaking of are long gone, and what's being created today, it's the cell phone is the biggest influencer, digital media is the biggest influencer, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, that's what's influencing today's youth, you know? So I think it's important to look and understand what kind of people, you know, what the society and the culture that we're developing today, and it's unfortunate that it's not exactly the best kind of society. In fact, we're talking about temples and Devi. Today, I actually visited a Shakti Peeth which was close to Haridwar about 2 weeks ago, and I looked around me and I said, wow, it's all men. You know, it was 80% men, there wasn't so many women there, and it was because women don't want to go to the temples. Because if they go to temples with such large hordes of people, there's fear of being groped, there's fear of being in these large crowds, and it's scary. It was scary for me to be in those large crowds of mostly men.
That's
you know?
not true. No, that's not
Absolutely.
true. That's not true. I went to Ujjain. I'm sorry.
No, I'm actually finishing my conversation, and then we can debate after that. Yes. So yes, there are temples which are very safe and well organized, but this is my experience. In fact, this has been my experience in many temples in the recent past. That as a woman going there alone, I'm told not to go, I'm warned not to go, and when I go there, it's often an unpleasant experience. And so the society that we're developing today is a curious and interesting one, and in fact, I feel that Shakti does need to be redefined. We do need voices like Shefali ji and Madhu ji to speak up and to talk about this force and this energy, because the situation in India today is dire in every single sense. You look at women in the workforce. You know, the number of women participating in the workforce compared to anywhere in Asia is very, very low for women. Look at sort of, you know, and the fact is that women are more educated. The number of child brides in India, it's incredible. We're one of the highest numbers in the world of child brides. This culture has not changed. You know, we look at female feticide. Female feticide is actually on the rise, not going down. You know, and despite Beti Bachao and whatever else, that's the true reality of what's happening today. Female malnutrition amongst women and children, it's a big problem, and it's not being addressed in the way it's supposed to be addressed. So the reality of the matter is, and then sexual violence, I'm not even going to delve into that topic right now because it is longer than a 10-minute conversation or a 10-minute dialogue from my end. Because yes, while it is true that it is increasing, the reporting is increasing, and women are becoming more empowered to speak about what's going on, there is another point of view that it's also happening more. Sexual violence, sexual crimes are happening, and they're happening in very, very violent way, like we saw in the recent incidents. And so what kind of society, what kind of India are we creating today? You know, what is this, and why is this? And I think as thinkers and as intellectuals, we need to really carefully think about about what kind of India we want the future. The past is great, I understand, but is it possible to go back to our tradition? Because what I see around me is that people are going more towards the West than towards the East. Even and as a yoga teacher, what I'm trying to do is reintroduce yoga in a way which could be understood. And even there, I'm constantly facing problems. I'll tell you a small one. It's quite a funny one. I have a daily show on Doordarshan, and I went to do yoga. They said, "Ira ji, देखिए, ये पारिवारिक चैनल है, तो थोड़ा सा ना आपको full sleeves पहनना पड़ेगा और सब लंबे कपड़े पहनेंगे." तो I said कि देखिए, इतनी गर्मी है, इतने लंबे लंबे कपड़े पहन के, meaning आदत नहीं है, और आप मीनिंग योगी को देखेंगे तो वो छोटे कपड़े पहनते हैं क्योंकि it's easier to do yoga in this way. एंड फिर स्क्रीन पे भी आपको और अच्छी तरीके से दिखेगा कि क्या बॉडी पार्ट कहाँ होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हम तो योग सिखा रहे हैं. तो नहीं ईरा जी, ये नहीं हो सकता. मैं सर अच्छा, पर बाबा रामदेव तो लंगोट में योगा करते हैं और आप हमको बोल रहे हैं कि आप फुल स्लीव्स पहनिए. So this was the kind of, and this is imagined in a major media organization, but it was really these kind of small little barriers which I myself am facing on a daily basis to try to teach yoga and try to actually bring yoga, and to kind of change the image of yoga from a very male-dominated, a very sort of Baba-oriented in point of view into something which is young and contemporary and modern, while keeping our ancient knowledge intact. But it's a difficult battle, because India's young. They want to be served knowledge and information the way that they want to be served. They don't want to be, and I see that every day in my work. Everyone, with the Bhagavad Gita, if I say I'm talking about the Bhagavad Gita, then no one will show up, because no one really does want to know. But if you actually do things in a much more interesting way, like Shefali told such an interesting story right now, then people actually listen. So it's the way it has to be reinterpreted. If you probably present the Bhagavad Gita in a Bollywood-esque way, people would love it. So I do think it's about finding a way to take our ancient knowledge and to present it in a way to the youth which they understand. And I think the most fundamental element has to be, we have to turn our entire patriarchal society into a more feminine direction. Because if you look at any country around the world where men and women are more equal, those societies are happier, they're safer, the people are happier in every single way. You look at the Scandinavian countries, where there's equal representation in parliament, in leadership, and you actually see that crimes are less, the societies are safer, and all of that. So I do think that it needs to be made a very, very important part of every single dialogue, every single legislation, every single sort of law that's passed and looked at, to bring women in India to an equal platform as men, because this is the only way this country is going to move forward. I think the entire next wave is going to come from Shakti and women's power. But on that note, I actually do have to leave. So I'm not going to be able to debate any of the next topics, but Abhay is going to do it on my behalf. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much for your contribution. It's appreciated. I
just want to counter one point before she leaves, and that's very important, about the temple thing. I have been traveling alone in India using public transport since I was 17 years old. I have traveled on tractors, I have traveled on STs, I have traveled on second-class unreserved compartments, I have traveled in the north, in the south, everywhere except the northeast, and not once have I felt threatened or have had the fear of being groped or whatever. I have been to crowded festivals. Last year I went to Ujjain for the Kumbh Mela. The whole place was filled with people. There were women there changing in front of other people with just a dupatta or a sari. Young girls, college-going girls. There were men standing right next to them, within like 1 foot distance. Not one of them looked at the women. Not one of them.
Thank you very much for that. Please, as moderator and a representative of the other half of Ardhanareshwar, I'm going to impose my right to just say, hold on a minute, let's bring it back on stream. But it's such a disappointment that you're having to leave us, because I feel that we've started a Sagar Manthan, and all of a sudden half of the group, but I'm not going to say which is which half, have decided they have another engagement, so that leaves it a little one-sided. But thank you very much for participating. We appreciate your time here.
I had another appointment, but thank you.
Thank you very much.